T-minus 10 minutes. T-minus 9 minutes. T-minus 8 minutes. T-minus 7 minutes. minus 5 minutes. Minus for minutes. Minus 3 minutes. Minus 2 minutes. Minus 1 minute. Stand by.
How about that?
How about that? I hope you all are having a tremendous start to the week, because I certainly am. It's Canada's daytime sports talk show, airing also in 32 U.S. states. The RP Show here on Game Plus Television and a variety of other platforms. I hope you're having a great start to the week, because as I say, I am. We got Zig Fracassi coming up from SiriusXM NFL Radio in hour 2. Very excited about that. But my brother from another mother, Les Lazaruk, the voice of the Saskatoon Blades, and Barry's joins me to open up the program here in hour 1. Lester, how you doing, my guy?
I'm good. It's been a good weekend, and it's going to be a nice hot week here in Saskatoon from the looks of it. So it's going to be a wonderful week of holiday time still.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming on vacation. Your brother
That's
from another
right.
mother, Rob Carney, wouldn't come on vacation. That's a story for another time. So, Les, I
Wow.
appreciate I'm just digging at him. Okay, let's have fun. I got so many things to get to. We got breaking news from the NFL. We got a huge Week 12 coming out of the CFL. But Les, as far as I'm concerned, the big story in this country is the Blue Jays. They're opening a 3-game series tonight against the visiting Minnesota Twins after taking 2 of 3 from the Marlins on the weekend. Max Scherzer will start for the Jays tonight, while the Twins counter with righty Joe Ryan. I should have probably told you this. This is our poll question, Les, is the Jays have opened up a 5-game lead over the Red Sox. The poll question today, right out of the gate, is what will mark a successful season for the Toronto Blue Jays? AL East pennant, which they're tracking to, a World Series appearance, or a World Series title, or other for EMJ Marketing? What's going to tell the tale in a successful Jays season?
Well, ultimately, a successful Jays season is winning the World Series. Of course, not everybody can do that, and they haven't been in the playoffs for the last couple of years. So maybe temper it down a little bit. I think they absolutely, for their best chance of winning a World Series, they have to find a way to not just win the AL East, but have one of the top 2 division-winning records in the American League. That way, getting a bye away from that first-round best-of-3 wild card, which has been their nemesis whenever they've been in it. The Jays have to be out of that, and they have to be into the best-of-5 ALDSs in order to have a shot at winning a World Series.
Yeah, you're right. The bye is very, very, very key. But again, I'm just getting my feet wet in baseball. You've got a lot longer history in baseball than me. I'm still of the mind that if you didn't win it all, you're disappointed, which everybody does feel that way. But it's not always that way. Like Buck Martinez was on with us a couple years ago on this show after the Jays got swept out by the Marlins in the wild card series. And Buck's like, no, Rod, it was a great season. And now that's Mr. Blue Jay saying that.
Sure.
But I also understand, Les, that, all the leagues say this is the toughest trophy to win. Stanley Cup, Memorial Cup, Super Bowl. I legitimately think the World Series is the hardest trophy to win. Maybe that would have been a good poll question. I think that's the hardest to win.
Yeah.
So if you don't win it, you can't say you had a bad season, right?
Yeah. Well, it is, because the thing about baseball is you're playing 162 regular season games. It used to be, back in the days prior to 1969, that you'd play 162 games, National League, American League, and the 2 top teams at the top of the standings would meet in the World Series right away. There were no run-up playoffs to get to that. You just played best on best, and that was that. That was the end of your season by the middle of October. Now the season carries on into November, and you've got 4 rounds of playoffs before you finally get a champion. It is a difficult road to hoe, because there's a lot of good teams in Major League Baseball. Back in those pre-dinosaur eras and before '69, there were a lot of good teams that came up short and never even got a chance to be in a playoff, and many felt that they should have had a chance to be in a playoff. But that's the way it was back then. Now you get a chance. You get that second chance. If you're good, you win a division, you make a wild card situation. Who knows? Maybe you get hot at the right time as a wild card team, like the Philadelphia Phillies have in the past, and you win the whole ball of wax. Hey, I think winning the World Series is where it's at.
I do too, and I know that the guys and gals in the Game Plus control room are loving all the Jays talk and the baseball talk. I think they've wanted me to talk about it more over the years. But as I've said, I'm into the Blue Jays when they're winning. There's a lot of other things going on. And people are writing in with all the things that they want to talk about today. But I think if we had a poll question of what is the hardest trophy to win, people would still say the Stanley Cup. And I don't think that it is. I think the Memorial Cup probably is. And then the World Series, where for the longest time, only a finite amount of teams made the playoffs. Then they expanded the playoff field with the wild card advent, Les, as you know, 1-game series, and now they've become 3-game series. But all that's done is make it better teams are in the playoffs, which would make it harder to win the World Series, you know?
Let me say something controversial right away when it comes to the two hockey things that you mentioned. I'll take the Memorial Cup as being a tougher trophy to win than the Stanley Cup, because the Stanley Cup, once you win that, that's it. For the major junior teams, you win your league championship, okay, you have a celebration. And now you've got to re-ramp yourself up and find a way to get the emotion and the physicality ready to go again less than a week later and start playing against the other league champions for the Memorial Cup. And I think some leagues do it a lot better than others. Some leagues get advantages that some other leagues don't. But I really think that winning the Memorial Cup is a tougher trophy to win than the Stanley Cup, just because you have to go from the elation of winning a championship and now try and do it again less than a week later.
16 wins to win the Stanley Cup, 16 wins to win your league, and then go to a tournament against the other two best teams in the country. What was that, Corey? How much time?
Win another 4.
Okay, so we got a couple minutes here. I want the people to think about this. And by the way, it's split 3 ways what will be a successful Blue Jays season: winning the World Series, appearing in the World Series, or winning the pennant. It's split 3 ways. I teed Les up on this. You don't need to give me your answer now. But as I watched the Cowboys series, America's Team on Netflix, America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys, as a Cowboys fan, I got 1 episode left to go, but I know the whole story. I've been a fan. The most poignant moment in Dallas Cowboys franchise history was them fighting, but Jerry Jones firing Jimmy Johnson. That was the most poignant day. And so I'm sitting there thinking of all the teams I grew up being fans of. Cowboys, Edmonton Oilers were one. The most significant day for them was August 9th, 1988. It's easy for the Oilers. Okay, that's just one of many teams. So I asked, I'm sure you're going to think of the Jets, Les, and don't answer me now. Answer it when we come back. And for that matter, your Saskatoon Blades, because my lifelong teams growing up were Rough Riders, Oilers, Regina Pats, Dallas Cowboys, Toronto Blue Jays. But that's just me. So for all of our viewers, all over North America here on Game Plus Television, think of your favorite franchise and what was the most significant moment in it. I mean, for Dallas, when Jerry bought the Cowboys in 1989, that was world-shifting as well. But firing Jimmy Johnson following back-to-back Super Bowls, 15 seconds, we're going to be out for a break. So be thinking about that, Les, and we will be back in a second, everybody. We're live on Game Plus Television, streaming live, all major podcast platforms, and 1700 AM Mission Radio.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too. Al-Anon and Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with The Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Nazareth's Canadian Farewell Tour is coming to Moose Jaw. Live at Temple Garden Center, October 17th. With special guest, Lee Aaron. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or sasktix.ca.
Welcome back, everybody. RP Show continues on a Monday. By the way, join us at Pump Jacks Cathedral in Regina for our NFL kickoff party Thursday, September the 4th for Cowboys at Eagles. Be watching for details on how you can be part of it. Pump Jacks Steakhouse and Saloon. Come early, stay late at the place where the friends meet. My great friend, Les Lazaruk, joins us, the voice of the Blades and the Berries. And before we push on with our topics, Les, I asked before the break, of your favorite sports franchise, what was the most significant point in its history? And I'm interested to know who your franchise is and what you've pinpointed as their biggest moment.
Probably the Winnipeg Jets, and the biggest moment is getting a team back in the NHL back in 2011. The fact that the team has a great and storied history. Never won a Stanley Cup, of course, but I go back, being as old as I am, and going back to 1972 when they were accepted into the World Hockey Association as part of one of the charter franchises of that league, with Wild Bill Hunter and Ben Hatskin and all those folks that were involved. The Jets in 72, they won 3 AFCO Cups as World Hockey Association champs before the end of the 70s, got folded into the National Hockey League along with the Oilers, Hartford Whalers, Quebec Nordique in 1979, and moved along, but in a very, very tedious way and a very troubling way because of attendance issues and rising costs and all that, and eventually lost the team, moving them to Phoenix in 2008, I believe it was, or earlier than that even. I tend to forget those horrible dates. But when they were able to get the team back from the Atlanta Thrashers in 2011, I mean, that's the big thing that happened, is the ability to get the NHL back in Winnipeg for the Jets was massive.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember the date of that or not. The dates for certain things stick out to me. But for me, again, the Dallas Cowboys, my NFL team, the day they fired Jimmy Johnson was franchise turning. For the Saskatchewan Roughriders, it was February 2nd, 2005, when they hired Jim Hobson. That was 2005, and we went on to appear in 4 Grey Cups the next 5 years and win 2. For the Regina Pats, it was winning the Memorial Cup in 1974. It was our 3rd, but it really changed the complexion of the franchise. Well, the other 2 were in the 1920s. So it was that.
Yes.
What would it be for the Blades?
I think there's a lot of them. I think one significant one would have been back in 2004 when Jack Brodsky brought Lorne Mulliken back to be GM and head coach of the team after they'd floundered through a year of 7 wins and there was hardly anybody coming to the building to watch the team because of that. I think Jack's foresight and Lauren wanting the challenge of trying to help Jack win a championship. And I mean, they tried so hard and they came close. They had some really good teams for 10, 11 years after that, and it never happened. But just, I think that hiring was huge for the franchise, as it brought the focus back of the community to the fact that here was a really good team with a really good guy that was running the show and could possibly, take them to the next level. And they came so close to doing it. You go even from that point on with the new ownership, with the Priestner family, and the hirings of Mitch Love as a head coach back in 2018, and they haven't missed the playoffs since then. So there have been so many significant moments, but I think the big significant moment was when the franchise was teetering and really not doing well at all, and hiring Lauren Mulliken.
And I would say moving into Saskatchewan Place in 1989 was a pretty big day too, or 1988. Okay, as we move along, Laura Jackson in Edmonton, one of our faithful viewers, sent me this breaking news, Bell. I love her so much. Laura, I kind of feel, honored, but not worthy. This looks like a family heirloom, but it made it to me, Laura. It made it to me, Laura. It's beautiful. Yeah, producer Corey goes, it is great. I'm not sure I'm worthy of it, but thank you, Laura. I will lovingly take this back to Florida with me, and it'll be part of this show every single day. So the breaking news from the NFL. Point 3, the Washington Commanders and wide receiver Terry McLaurin reached an agreement today on a 3-year contract extension worth up to $96 million that will end his hold in and get him in uniform for the regular season opener against the Giants. Agents Buddy Baker and Tony Bonagura told ESPN's Adam Schefter. That's the biggest news today. There's 2 other hold-ins, Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals and Micah Parsons with the Cowboys. But the NFL preseason officially ended Saturday night. Les, do you have any takeaways before we move on to the CFL?
Biggest takeaway would be these hold-ins, and I'm just waiting because the fact that McLaurin has signed, that's the sure sign that that the regular season's upon and that everybody's done with preseason. They've had enough. The players hate it. They don't want to play preseason. They hate training camp. They want to just start playing the games right away, even though you really can't do that. You have to have some sort of preseason prep.
Yeah.
So McLaurin, he's had enough of holding in. He's ready to play. The Commanders are ready for him to play. I expect the same thing will end up happening with the Cowboys. I mean, Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones supposedly have this massive rift that's never going to happen. I predict that by the time Thursday rolls around, Jerry Jones will have Micah Parsons signed to a contract, and everything will be wonderful with the Dallas Cowboys.
I would delve into the Cowboys situation with you and that Netflix series, but next hour, Zig Fracassi is joining us from SiriusXM NFL Radio, and he's all over it. He was a Cowboys fan. He's quit being a Cowboys fan. I will always be a Cowboys fan, but it's like, I'm not going to, we'll save that for when Zig joins us next hour, because we're rolling into point 4. It's Labor Day week, and all of my shows for decades, this has always been a big week, whether it's on the local radio here or here on this show. It's Canadiana. It's the Canadian Football League. We're on Game Plus Television. And before we look ahead, and I just took, at my own peril, I dipped my toe, Les, into the Western Dodge text line. And they're all writing in about the Labor Day Classic matchups. And I'm like, just hold on. We're coming out of Week 12. We got to talk about what went on last week. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers went into Montreal and rolled the Alouettes 26-13 to nobody's surprise. There you. Oh, you're wearing it. What do you got there? Oh, it's your shirt. Good for you. Good for you. I love it. Blue and gold, baby. We're very big in Winnipeg. Les, you probably know that. Friday night, my Cody led Edmonton into Ottawa, and they won 30-20. Do not slag a chosen one. Teams are figuring that out. Cody Fajardo always comes out on top. And Saturday, a doubleheader in the Braley Bowl. Toronto routed BC 52-34. And in the late game, the Calgary Stampeders beat Saskatchewan 32-15. We all watched it. I assume you did, Les. What are your Week 12 takeaways?
Week 12 takeaways is that the Saskatchewan Roughriders had such an opportunity to go and have a very easy second half and basically coast to hosting the West Division Final if they win in Calgary. And really, outside of the second quarter, they didn't show. They were terrible. They did not get a pass rush on Vernon Adams Jr. Not that that's easy to do, but they couldn't really get any sustained pressure on VA, and he was able to have his way with them, along with the running game. Dedrick Mills had a great day running the football for Calgary against the supposed number one rush defense in the CFL. So the Rough Riders just didn't show, and Trevor Harris got sacked 4 or 5 times, and they had to take him out of the game just for his own safety so that he didn't end up getting beaten into the turf. Saskatchewan could have been 9-1 and 3 games up on both Winnipeg and Calgary. Now, power rankings, I'm not a big fan of power rankings. To me, standings are where it's at, but power rankings, Calgary has to be the number one team now. I mean, they're 7-3, yes, and they're behind Saskatchewan by a game, but they've beaten the Riders twice. They've beaten Winnipeg twice. I think they're the team to beat in the CFL, and I think Winnipeg, having won the games that they've won of recent, now have to be considered a tough out for the Saskatchewan Roughriders coming up, starting with the LDWC. It's not the Labor Day Classic. It is the Labor Day Weekend Classic. If they want it to be a Labor Day Classic, play the darn thing on Monday and move one of those other games from Monday back to Sunday.
You're one of those.
That rant is over. Yes, I'm one of those. Having said that, though,
yeah,
Winnipeg going into Regina this coming Sunday is massive. I mean, Winnipeg wins that, and they very well could. The Riders had their troubles with the Bombers over the last few years, and a lot of the same players are still there with the Winnipeg. Claros, Oliveira, Willie Jefferson, those types of folks are still there. They always seem to find a way to beat Saskatchewan when it matters in these upcoming 2 games. If the Riders aren't careful, that's going to be a heck of a 3-way battle for first place in the CFL West by the time we're done with the following weekend going into the middle of September.
I'll tell you what, Les, you and I make beautiful music together. Someday, before you hang it up, I would love to do a talk. Can you imagine you and me doing a talk show every day for a couple hours? If you would be willing. Oh, my God, that would be so much fun. By the way, just so we don't get it twisted, and for those that showed up late, we started this topic in the first segment. There are people just showing up. I asked you, what is the most significant moment in your favorite franchise's history, like a turning point moment? And some people, like Rob in Las Vegas writes, and he's a Winnipeg fan. He goes, 1984 Winnipeg Blue Bomber Grey Cup win was my biggest sports moment. Bombers hadn't won the Grey Cup in my lifetime until then, which is fine. Rich in Edmonton writes, and he says, June 11th, 1978, Wayne Gretzky touchdown at the old municipal airport near downtown Edmonton. Okay, fair, but I want to make this clear. I'm saying the most significant moment in franchise history. That's not to say that you're wrong. But I'm just looking back at Jimmy Johnson being fired. That wasn't the greatest day in Dallas Cowboys history, but it was probably the most significant day in Dallas Cowboys history. There's a difference, right?
That's right.
Les Lazaruk saying the day the Jets returned from Atlanta, or however you want to say it, Jets 2.0 was the most significant day in Winnipeg Jets history. And I would go with that. As the guy in the neighboring province over here, I would totally agree. Is that the best day in Winnipeg Jets history? No, there's a difference. So I'm not arguing with the audience. I just want to clarify that's what my point was. What's the most significant day in your franchise's history? I'd love to hear from everybody. Kevin the Medium, Canucks and Lions fan, writes in. Kevin the Medium from Calgary, our good friend, says, good morning, RP peeps. Happy freaking Monday. I'm glad that he's in a great mood given the fact that he's a BC Lions fan. Like, I'm going to go back to this. Like, they didn't look very good in the Braley Bowl on Saturday at all. Jason in Red Deer writes in, he says, so if the Riders are the best team in the CFL, then the only team to beat them are the Stamps in both games. Are the Stamps the best team in the CFL? You're asking questions you know the answers to, Jason. Like, Les, you bring up the power rankings. However you want to say it. If Calgary and Saskatchewan were meeting in the West Final this Sunday, Calgary's winning. So you can say... You can say whatever you want about records or whatever. That settles it for me as to who's the best team out of the two.
Absolutely correct. Yeah, Calgary is the GOAT right now. They're the team. So until somebody can, unless VA gets hurt again, that's the only time they've really not been good. Was when he was out of action for 2 games. Other than that, they've been easily the best team, and they're doing it without some key pieces. No Dominic Grimes. No Reggie Bagleton. Bagleton hasn't been there all season. He's their number 1 receiver. So the fact that the Stampeders are doing what they're doing on offense and what they're doing on defense with 12 completely new starters from last season. I mean, the Dave Dickinson is coach of the year right now, hands down, without a problem.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Les, you're coming out with all the quotes today, all the hot takes. Dave Dickinson, coach of the year, CFL, Calgary's number one, all that. When Les adjourns, I got a lot of stories that I'm going to get to. Les is just bringing too much fire. Nobody wants to hear from me here. I want to talk about the life of Craig Smith, the two-time Grey Cup champion who passed away on Sunday at the age of 69. He is a close friend of mine, and his wife, Kathy, is such a beautiful person inside and out. We'll talk about that a little later with Les. But I want to go back, and I got stories to tell, like you mentioned, Dave Dickinson. I like my role now, not being tied to one team, because I'm happy for Calgary, Les. They were the worst team in the CFL last year. Now they're the best. And he fired 3 coaches and pissed a lot of people off, burnt some relationships to do what was best for the Calgary Stampeders. He completely overhauled that roster, acquiring Vernon Adams, signing Derek Moncrief, drafting Damian Alford. The guy deserves a hell of a lot of credit. And I don't want to sit here as the rider guy and crap on that, because he doesn't deserve that. So I like to be able to sit and be non-biased about these things. So we'll continue with our discussion and some hockey talk with Les. We're not going to let Les get out of here without some hockey talk, as WHL training camps open this week. So we'll be right back. We're live on Game Plus Television, streaming live on all major podcast platforms and 1700 AM Mission Radio.
Country's hottest party is coming. James Barker Band, Bud Light Buckle Up Tour 2025. Live across Canada with special guests Ryan and Rory. November 20th, Temple Garden Center. Tickets on sale now at Temple Garden Center box office or online at sasktix.ca. James Barker Band Live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina. This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Welcome back, everybody. The RP Show continues on a Monday. Whether it's pizza, ribs, or authentic Greek favorites, make it the Mad Greek Eatery tonight, open until 11 p.m. Order online, pick up, or dine in. Visit them at themadgreekeatery.com. We'll have more CFL talk coming up on the program, some NFL as well. Actually, here, Les, Rob in Vegas writes in, he says, my wife and I binge-watched America's Team, The Gambler and His Cowboys on the weekend. Jerry Jones is a fascinating man. I don't mean to put you on the spot. I know you've been golfing a lot. But have you partaken in that Netflix series at all on the Dallas Cowboys and their owner?
I have not, mostly because I'm not a Dallas Cowboys fan. I probably should, because I quite enjoy Jerry Jones and the dumpster fire that he seems to create on an annual basis with the Cowboys. He's great for sound bites. He's great for the theater that is the National Football League. I'm just not sure that the owner should be the GM and pretend he's lord of everything with the franchise, and should probably relinquish some of that to somebody who has maybe a little better knowledge of what goes on with talent. That's just my thought. I mean, I think it's got to be maddening for Cowboys fans. You've got a quarterback in Dak Prescott who's $1 million talent, all kinds of talent, but he's got a 10-cent head. He doesn't think well. He doesn't think when it's time to make plays happen. On the spot thoughts doesn't happen. He'll throw the ball away into the arms of people, not throw it away.
Sure. But here's the point. Fans of all other NFL teams are now tuning into the America's Team documentary because everybody's talking about it. And again, Zig Fracassi's coming up in the next hour. He wants to get into it from NFL radio. But here's the thing, Les, because you've worked for private owners. You are now, and you have for a long time. Jerry Jones, as a Cowboys fan, like, I'm kind of tired. It's been decades of this. This isn't new. But it's like Jerry leveraged everything he had to buy his first oil well for $800,000. Put everything on the line. And that thing gushed to $100 million. And he turned around and bought the Cowboys with it. His whole life has been putting his balls on the line, and it's paid off. And when you have those gambles, because that's less than 1% of the population has the nuts to do that, then you have the right, this is what the owners all say, to do whatever the hell you want. And that's the way he runs the team. And I get that. But when it's not going well, take your hands off the wheel, and he won't do that. And that's kind of what you've just been saying. But I mean, I don't know the owners, the Priestners at all. I've never met him, but I know that Jack Brodsky is such a first-class guy, and I feel like I would have liked to have worked for Jack Brodsky if I'd had a chance. He's just so classy. And so that's the theme. One of the themes today is, what's the most significant date in your favorite franchise's history? And I'm saying it was when Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson couldn't get along, and Jimmy was fired. And just so you know, Les, you're going to have to watch it. But Jimmy basically sat in an interview, Les, he goes, I get that he owns the team. I get it's his money. But I'm the coach.
That's right.
And that's also right. Correct?
Yep. That's right.
Yeah.
There's lots of instances in sport, people that I know of, that were coaches and GMs, and coaches told GMs to get out of my office in the middle of a game because I'm the one who's making these decisions right now, not you. So there's been lots of those types of situations.
Yeah, and when you got the owner and you're a last place team and he's texting you what to say on the radio, which I've experienced, and I get off the air and say to him, you can't even do your own freaking job, let alone telling me what to do, is why I'm sitting here today. Anyways, Ryan in upstate New York writes, and he says, the most significant day in New Jersey Devils history, September 3rd, 1991, when an arbitrator awarded Scott Stevens as compensation from St. Louis after they signed RFA Brendan Shanahan. See, ta-da! That's what I'm talking about, right?
Perfect one.
That's a perfect one. Thank you, Ryan, in Saratoga, New York. What is the most significant date in your favorite team's history, folks? That's what I'm asking here today. And we got a lot of great comments have come in from our audience. And it will be just me and you, the viewers, coming up. So I got it in the time that we have left here. Why the hell not? It's Canadian television here, which we are, as you noticed, probably maybe you didn't, Les. We're going to be airing in Las Vegas daily on the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network, but that's an NHL market. Beginning September 29th, daily will be on the air in Vegas, so that'll be cool. You can say hi to your friends there.
I heard your producer telling you that about stuff coming up here during one of the.
Oh, there's a lot.
Lots of stuff going on with the show. So good for you.
Well, I can guarantee Corey and I now, we've been working together, a couple months, Corey. I'm not going to speak. He tells me stuff. I got to filter what I can say and what I can't. So let's just say Vegas is the first. Next stop, the world. Right, Corey? Anyways, hockey. Mm-hmm. We talked with the Warriors Outlook last week with James Gallo was on the Voice of the Warriors. How about your Saskatoon Blades? What's the outlook?
The outlook is that it's very tough to have a real handle on what the outlook is, mostly because of the whole NCAA situation. My buddy Guy Flaming, who does the Pipeline Show podcast out of Edmonton, has started doing his WHL previews and has talked to 6 WHL GMs in the first week, and probably the greatest one. If you have a chance to listen to it, Rod, you got to hear his bit with Brent Sutter from the Red Deer Rebels, who pulls no punches with regards to how upset he is with the fact there was no communication whatsoever with Ole Josephson, his captain from last season, who's now taken off to go to play for UND just a couple of weeks ago. That's happened 2 weeks ago.
Oof.
All the rosters are frozen. Everything's frozen right now for the league from the 1st of August until after training camp starts. And now you don't have your captain. Now you don't have potentially your number 1 or number 2 center, a big-time 20, 25-minute guy. What are you doing? So Brent Sutter really lays it out on the line, says basically what I think a lot of GMs would love to say and a lot of team owners would love to say in the CHL, not just the Western Hockey League, but in the CHL, as to how it affects them right now, losing players like that. The flip side is you're able to bring players who played Junior A and now had committed to U.S. colleges, but suddenly don't have to play Junior A. They can now maybe think about playing in the Western Hockey League or somewhere in the CHL, and we're starting to see that. A lot of team rosters, which haven't been released yet, are going to show different kids, different ages. It's not going to be a lot of 15 and 16-year-olds in the past with your returnees and maybe the odd free agent from around the league somewhere. There's going to be, there's a 17 or an 18 or even a 19-year-old from elsewhere in Western Canada, Western United States that played USHL, North American Hockey League, BCHL, Alberta Junior League, played for the Brooks Bandits, that storied franchise in the AJ, coming to play for a Western Hockey League team possibly. It's hard to pick who the real tough teams are going to be, and it makes it tougher now to predict down the line whether you're in a rebuilding stage. You almost have to be on a season-to-season basis prepared to make a go for it based on how your first 15, 20 games go. If you get off to a good start, maybe you look at it and you say, okay, I'm going for it now. But if you don't get off to a good start, okay, now you're selling off. You may see the selling off and the acquisitions happening a lot sooner this season than they have in the past. And with the Blades, they like to think they've got a shot at going somewhere because they have Evan Gardner in goal, a second-round pick of the Columbus Blue Jackets. They have Cooper Williams, who scored the winning goal in the bronze medal game for Canada at the Hlinka Gretzky Championship. David Lewandowski played very well for Germany at the World Juniors last year. They brought in Dustin Wilhoft, another German teammate of Lewandowski's, and they acquired Dominic Peter to be an overage, one of 3 over imports you can now have on your rosters in the Western Hockey League. They've got him from Brandon. So they like to think they've got some pretty good talent, both up front and in goal. They're a little bit light on defense as far as age goes. They acquired Tristan Doyle, a 19-year-old from Lethbridge, but everybody else is younger than that. If they can acquire a defenseman or 2, they got the makings of a pretty good team. But it's going to depend, I think, Rod, to a large degree, how they start the season. 15, 20 games worth, whether they go for it or they don't go for it.
Thank you for that, Les. Ask Les the outlook for the Blades, and we got it. I'll let you go enjoy the rest of your vacation, Les. Always fun seeing you, buddy. Enjoy the Labor Day Classic. Pretty sure I know who you're cheering for on Sunday in the Labor Day Weekend Classic, so we won't go through that anymore. And we'll continue this when we come back after the break, everybody. What's the most significant date or period or event in the history of your favorite team? Everybody's writing in. They're getting it now. And some have dates, some don't, but the moment they're writing in with, and Les had his for the Winnipeg Jets, it's when they returned from Atlanta or showed up from Atlanta. And it's been a fun topic today, which is what we do. All right, Les, 30 seconds to go. Any last words from you?
I hope that the Riders can bounce back and find a way to at least win this weekend and get the hold back on first place in the West Division. If they can't, it's going to be a 3-team race down the stretch in the CFL West.
Who thought it was going to be easy?
Not a chance.
Thanks, Les. We'll see everybody right after this on Game Plus TV.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more, there's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. The RP Show continues. Brand new week opening here on the Game Plus Television Network. I'll say this again if she wasn't watching earlier. Laura Jackson from Edmonton mailed this to me, and I almost feel not worthy. I'm sorry. It's like a family heirloom, my breaking news bell. I left it in Calgary at Theron Fleury's golf tournament. She has sent me this, and I will lovingly protect that from now to the end of time. Thank you, Laura. I was deficient in having a bell here. You see the RP Show gear. Got a mug over there. It's The viewers have asked for it. It's available now. The RP Show store is open. Rep the show you love. Go to rodpeterson.com. Click on the RP store. We'll get to all of what you want to talk about, but the people, you need to just stand down a little bit. You need to stand down a little bit. I thank Les Lazaruk for joining us for the first 40 minutes. We covered everything that I wanted to. The Blue Jays are hot. The poll question today, by the way, is for EMJ Marketing. What will mark a successful Blue Jays season? Winning the pennant, winning the World Series, or appearing in the World Series or other? Last I saw, 60% leading, winning the pennant, we're good. This is what the Jays fans are saying. Point two is this theme that popped into my head while watching the Cowboys documentary over the weekend. What was the most poignant, significant moment in your franchise's history? Not the best moment. What was the most franchise-turning moment? It's a fascinating question. We got great comments have come in from our audience. Point three, NFL preseason wrap, and I'm going to get to the news here. Terry McLaurin has signed. There's your breaking news. Terry McLaurin has ended his holdout with the Washington Commanders. He'll be ready for week 1 when they play the G-Men, among other NFL takeaways. Point four, CFL Week 12 wrap. Yeah, we did do that, Jeff, the Stamps fan. You showed up late. That's your problem. That's a you problem, not a me problem. My good friend Craig Smith passing away on Sunday at the age of 69, two-time Grey Cup champion. I want to tell some Smitty stories. And point five was the hockey talk with Les. Regarding the franchise-turning moments, and I can't pass judgment on your teams. I know mine. I'm pretty clear on what my team's cornerstone dates were. But Daniel in BC writes, and he says, Pavel Bure's first game in Vancouver changed the franchise. I would be interested to know from the Canucks fans if you all agree with that. Seems fine to me. Ken in Mississauga writes, and he says, Team Canada 1972, Phil Esposito's interview with Johnny Esau where he was so upset with the Vancouver fans for booing. That changed the country, bro. Scott in Vancouver writes, and he says, I remember the day my boss at work told me Harold Ballard died. It was 1990. Sounds bad to say, but I was happy. You say whatever you want here. We're a safe space. Scott in Toronto writes, and he says, MLSE, a.k.a. Rogers, choosing to play Argo home games in 2026 in Hamilton, Winnipeg, and Sask. Pockets cash and sells team shortly after. Contempt for their own team will mark a pivotal moment in team history. That's harsh. Also a safe place. Will the Argos... Hang on a second. Just hang on a second. Our studios with Game Plus TV are a stone's throw from BMO Field, where they just attracted a season-high crowd. How mad are you that the Argos are moving 3 games out of Toronto next year because of the World Cup? How mad are you, really? Don't see anybody boycotting the team. I'm just being devil's advocate here. And again, answer this however you want. It's supposed to be a fun discussion. But I'm not saying what was the best moment for your franchise. I'm not saying what's the best. I'm saying what's the most poignant day. The day Jimmy Johnson was fired in Dallas was the most poignant day in Dallas Cowboys history, and that's coming from a Cowboys fan. It wasn't the best day. They've won 5 Super Bowls, 3 under Jerry. Taylor in Calgary writes in, he says, my favorite was when Calgary went up to Edmonton 2001 West Final and beat the crap out of those Eskimos and then won the Grey. For you. But let's think about the team. Air Corps, which I found out your name's actually Eric, right? Saw that on the weekend. He writes in, he says, BC Lions, November 30th, 1963, Willie Fleming knocked out of the game by Angelo Mosca. Gained revenge in 1964 with a Grey Cup win. Maybe. Oh, my God. Brent, thank you. Wellington, Florida. Thank you, Brent. I was thinking about this. Yours was exactly the same as mine. Panthers fan, season ticket holder. July 22nd, 2022, Kachuk to Florida and 3 straight Stanley Cup finals. Just saying. That's from, yes, Brent, I thought the same thing. It's funny you say that. And since you and I are from the same place, we identify, somebody asked me the other day, who's your NHL team? I'm like, well, I'll say the Florida Panthers because I live there. How about that? But I'm thinking the question is, what's the most poignant day? So, Brent, maybe you weren't watching earlier. I said, Regina Pats, our team, 1974, when they won the Memorial Cup. Wasn't our first, but it was our third. But really put us into royalty as far as I was concerned. Saskatchewan Roughriders, February 2nd, 2005, when we hired Jim Hobson as president, we ended up in 4 Grey Cups in the next 5 years, won 2. Oilers, I grew up an Oilers fan. August 9th, 1988. The Gretzky trade. Do I need to say it? Janice in Edmonton, but she's a Stampeders fan, writes in. She says, in my time, the Stampeders was 2008 with the return of Huff to the organization. Men, we have them right where we want them. Might be the greatest speech of all time. Jeff, the Stamps fan, says the day Wally resigned was the most poignant for Stamps fans. You still got to go back and just go, did that actually happen? 2003, 2002, 2003. The Calgary Stampeders fired Wally Buono. Say it out loud. Jason in Red Deer wants to know, was it the CFL or MLSE that decided where the games would move to? We don't know, but we're pretty sure that it's MLSE. It's their team. They would get to decide that. Here's your breaking news on this Monday, plus a few other items in the sports update. The Washington Commanders and wide receiver Terry McLaurin reached agreement today on a 3-year extension worth up to $96 million that will end his hold in and get him in uniform for the regular season opener against the Giants. ESPN's Adam Schefter broke the story. NFL Radio's Zig Fracassi coming up in hour 2. He wants to talk about all these things, plus the Cowboys documentary. I'm just telling you, everybody's talking about it. Placeline Tampa. Shiloh Sanders was waived by the Buccaneers less than 24 hours after he was ejected from a game for throwing a punch. Sanders, the son of Hall of Fame corner Deion Sanders, was battling for a roster spot after going undrafted out of Colorado, where he played for his father. He was also penalized for pass interference earlier in Tampa Bay's 23-19 loss to the Bills. Here is the deal. Shiloh was just an average DB with the Colorado Buffaloes, just average. Drew Rosenhaus's agent got him the deal in Tampa as a favor, I think, to Deion. And when they're looking for any little reason to cut you, don't get kicked out of your last preseason game. Oh, I was having this talk yesterday with a hockey guy, actually, but it's like, what happens when you get cut in the NFL? Your career's over, largely. And you end up driving a beer truck, as the guys that I've seen, and you end up waiting for tryouts for the UFL or the CFL in your area. It's not like hockey. AHL, East Coast Hockey League, every hockey league. Seattle Mariners slugger Cal Raleigh hit his major league leading 48th and 49th home runs on Sunday against the Athletics, setting a single-season record for catchers and passing Salvador Perez's total with the Kansas City Royals back in 2021. And in Atlanta, Tommy Fleetwood ended a summer of heartache with the richest prize on the PGA Tour. He won the Tour Championship for his first Tour title to capture the FedEx Cup and its $10 million reward. The sports updates brought to you by Cool Bet Canada. Get a welcome bonus up to $200 with the promo code RP200 at coolbet.com. Did I mention Zig Fracassi coming up in hour 2 from SiriusXM NFL Radio? He's a Vegas guy. And while we have time here, I'll carry these over into hour 2. Jason in Red Deer says, when you get cut from the NFL, you go to the CFL. Yeah? Is that where Shiloh Sanders is going to go? You think that, but that's not necessarily that. And we did have the very big news. We dropped it on Friday. I announced it on my social media Sunday. We are going, beginning September 29th, to the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network, part of Fox 5 Las Vegas. Daily, we'll be talking sports in Sin City, all across Nevada, but also here on Game Plus Television. We want to make very clear to thank Game Plus and Anthem Sports and Entertainment for blessing this deal. And there will be some small tweaks, but it's funny. Today is the most that I've talked to producer Corey about this, who, by the way, his company Skycron put this all together. We're going to go to hour 1, Canadian topics, hour 2, U.S. topics. Brent in Wellington, Florida, I think you're going to be very happy to hear that. But Corey just said today, he's like, we don't have to completely eschew the Canadian topics. He's like, they like the Canadian flavor. And there are a lot of CFL fans down there. Like Corey just said, you probably know that. And I'm like, yeah, I've spent all kinds of time in Vegas. My God, you go down there and wear a Rough Riders Grey Cup ring. They trip all over themselves. Yeah, they all know the CFL. Who's going to be on the Jumbotron? He's talking in my ear. For what? Oh, okay. Oh, apparently we're going to be on the Jumbotron on the Strip. Even better. Even better. So coming to Vegas, the RP show beginning September the 29th. And Zig Fracassi did radio there some 40 years ago. And Zig joins us from NFL Radio coming up in hour 2, plus a whole lot more. We'll be right back, everybody, here on Game Plus TV, streaming live in 1700 Mission Radio.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Spirito Italian. Come in. Enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Spirito Italian. Come in. Enjoy.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. And if you're just joining us, welcome to the RP Show here on the Game Plus Television Network. Brand new bell. Thank you, Laura Jackson in Edmonton. I left mine at Theron Fleury's Golf Classic in Calgary a couple of weeks back now. And Laura's so nice in Edmonton to send me this bell. I feel so humbled and honored. It's like a family heirloom. It's beautiful. Thank you, Laura. It'll be on this program from now to the end of time. We have breaking news today. The Washington Commanders have signed receiver Terry McLaurin to a 3-year deal, ending his hold-in. Now we just got Trey Hendrickson of the Bengals and Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys to get done before the NFL regular season opens up on September the 4th. Zig Fracassi is our special guest coming up in hour 2 of the program. In the very next segment, Zig Fracassi from SiriusXM NFL Radio. Let's get down to business with the Quick Six show horn. I'm re-upping what we've been talking about today so you all know. Number 1, Les Lazaruk joined us, the voice of the Blades and the Berries, last hour to co-host with me. And our big story was the Blue Jays. They're opening a 3-game series tonight against the visiting Minnesota Twins. Max Scherzer gets the ball for the Jays against Joe Ryan of the Twins. Jays now leading the American League East by 5 games over the Red Sox. Our question today, it's our poll question for EMJ Marketing. What will make for a successful Blue Jays season? Winning the pennant, appearing in the World Series, or winning a World Series title, or other? And to be honest, running away with it is winning the pennant. And I certainly get that. And while I broadcast baseball, I don't have the baseball mentality. I still have the hockey mentality and a little what's not taken up by all of hockey. It's football. So I don't know. I just feel like you're in it to win it, aren't you? But a couple years ago on this show, when Buck Martina was on and the Jays got swept by Seattle in a wild card round, I said to Buck, was it disappointing? He's like, oh, no, it was a great season for the Blue Jays. I'm like, wow, that's Buck. Does he really mean that? Or is that a baseball thing? It's just not the way that I think. Like, we made the big announcement, and thank you, producer Corey at Skycron, for facilitating us moving to Silver State Sports and Entertainment, part of Fox 5 Las Vegas, beginning September 29th. Here on Game Plus Television, when we went to air there 5-6 years ago, I just envisioned being the highest-rated talk show on the network, and that happened, right? And as Moose DuPont pointed out not that long ago, we are the only show replayed, I believe, daily on the network. We're the only one of all their talk shows, and we thank Game Plus for that. That's winning a championship to me, not it's just okay to be on. So I don't get, if falling short of a championship is the goal, what are we doing here? Point 2, this isn't it is a sports thing, but it's not a sports news thing. What's the most significant event of your favorite sports franchise's history? Why am I talking about this? Because I've been ensconced, like a lot of you are apparently, with the Dallas Cowboys documentary, and Zig wants to talk a lot about that next. Like, there's 8 episodes, and 6 of them have been taken up about Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones' relationship, okay? You don't even need to be a Cowboys fan to understand why. But early on in 1994, when Jimmy Johnson was fired by Jerry Jones, and they'd been drinking, they were into the devil's juice at the league meetings in Orlando, and Jimmy got fired. It was the most poignant day in Dallas Cowboys history. It's not the best day, but it was the biggest day, because who knows how many Super Bowls they would have gone on to win. So I'm asking, what's yours? And it's been a fun talk today on that. By the way, on the NFL vein, join us at Pump Jacks Cathedral in Regina for our NFL kickoff party Thursday, September the 4th for Cowboys-Eagles. Be watching for details on how you can be part of it. I'll be hosting it. Prizing put up by our friends at Ultimate Fan Zone. Prizing of Cowboys and Eagles. Pump Jacks Steakhouse and Saloon. Come early, stay late at the place where friends meet. Point 3, the Washington Commanders and wide receiver Terry McLaurin reached agreement today on a 3-year deal worth up to $96 million, ending his hold-in, and he'll be ready for Week 1 against the Giants. NFL preseason is now over. We'll get into more NFL talk with Zig next segment. Point 4 is Canadian Football League Week 12 wrap, and I know a lot of you people come here every day to see the CFL talk, and I appreciate you for that. Thursday night it opened. Not a big shock. I still can't remember the kid's name for the Alouettes. James Morgan made his first pro start. James Captain Morgan for the Montreal Alouettes. Of course, they were going to lose to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The score was 26-13 for Winnipeg. Friday Night Football, my guy Edmonton's Cody Fajardo led them to their third straight victory, and Ottawa was listless. It was in Ottawa. I watched it on Friday Night Football. I watched almost all of the games. And the Elkamos. Like, things are turning now. You understand that. We're at the halfway point. The fans will never understand it. Apparently. What happens in week 1 isn't what happens in week 20. Sometimes not even close. Saturday afternoon, Toronto beat BC 52-34 in the Brayley Bowl. And so, listen, I'm not arguing. I'm just pointing things out here. There's a difference. The gentleman in Toronto, Scott, said the most poignant day in Argos history was when they decided to play 3 home games in 2026 out of market because of the World Cup and pissed off the fans. Well, how pissed off were you? I was at a season-high crowd for this Brayley Bowl game. Nick Arbuckle threw for 3 touchdowns and I think 400-plus yards for the Argos, and they won 52-34, resuscitating their season. Gary in Winnipeg writes in, Daily Viewer, love you, Gary, but he says on the Western Dodge text line, the only reason the Argos had a season-high crowd was because the C&E was on, the fair. It's cheaper to buy an Argo game ticket rather than a ticket to attend the C&E. Signed, Gary from Winnipeg. Don't be a member of the Yeah, But. Yeah, but. Don't be a member of the Yeah, But crowd, Gary. Don't be that guy. Yeah, it was the biggest crowd of the year, but a ticket got you into the fair for free. It doesn't. You're either pissed off or you are not pissed off as an Argos fan. Okay? Don't say it was because of the fair. That's my opinion. But I understand some of you are upset, but I would suggest in the 152-year history of the Toronto Argonauts, this decision to play 3 games out of market next year isn't even in the top 20. This is a good one. Bill in Brantford, Ontario writes in on franchise-turning moves. Good or bad? Bill in Brantford, Ontario writes in, he says, when Sam Pollock traded a bunch of players and draft picks to the Oakland Seals for Oakland's draft pick, which turned out to be Guy Lafleur, was a significant move in the Canadiens' future. Signed, Bill from Brantford, Ontario. Greg is watching in Calgary. He writes in on the Western Dodge text line. And by the way, are you ready for a new ride? Head to Western Dodge here in Moose Jaw, where the deals are real and the service is legendary. Greg in Calgary says, I agree for the New Jersey Devils. It was getting Scott Stevens from St. Louis. I thought it was a trade, not a compensation for Shanahan. But Cardinal Ryan from upstate New York clarified that last hour as the biggest Devils fan I know. Him and Jersey Jim probably tied for the biggest Devils fan, saying that was the biggest day in Devils history. See what I'm saying? You would think one of their multiple Stanley Cups, what do they got, 3? No, more than that. 5 cups? But it wasn't the day they won a Stanley Cup. It was the day they acquired the cornerstone to win those Stanley Cups. Or in the case of the Dallas Cowboys, again, I cannot wait to have this chat with Zig because I go back and forth on this. I think Jimmy Johnson and Jerry Jones, 2 enormously big personalities and enormously big egos. It was never going to work long term. It just wasn't, and it's too bad. The last episode majority was spent on Jimmy Johnson coming back for his Ring of Honor celebration in Dallas. Jerry finally ending the Cold War. And as Jimmy Johnson said, it only took 29 years for the Cold War to end. My God. I'm sitting here 7 years into a Cold War going, when's this thing going to end? And with Jimmy and Jerry, it went 29. Oh, my God. I think it's a man thing. We have not turned our attention yet to Labor Day weekend, so everybody don't get your knickers in a knot. It's Monday. I.e. Darren writes in from Melfort on the Western Dodge text line, and he says, yes, the Riders' Labor Day game is sold out, but are people on glue thinking they are going to get $988 for a ticket resale. So people are trying to resell the tickets for, well, $988. I guess you can put it on sale. Doesn't mean they're worth it. The guy's taking a shot. Who knows? As my mom would say, there's a lot of guys out there with more money than brains. Somebody might pay it. Well, oh my gosh, Darren goes on to say, turning point, Brady coming in for Drew Bledsoe turned me and many others into a Patriots and Brady fan. Well, there's that, and then there's the decision to get rid of Tom Brady. Again, I'm not a Patriots fan. I don't profess to be. I skip around on hockey team loyalty for my own reasons, but I don't on football team loyalty. I'll always be a Dallas Cowboys fan. It hurts watching that documentary. Brought up painful fan memories, but I can't see myself ever not cheering for the Dallas Cowboys. But what it did for the Patriots, I won't guess. I don't know. You tell me. Drafting Tom Brady in the 6th round and going on to win 6 Super Bowls, I would just say drafting Tom Brady. Clearly the biggest cornerstone moment. It was kind of the same as him replacing Drew Bledsoe because of injury. And we've all watched the documentary. I would like to think we've all watched it on the Patriots. Similar to this Cowboys one. Oh, my God. And can you imagine? Is Zig logged in yet, by the way, producer Corey? We don't know. When that Patriots documentary comes out, I feel like that's going to make this Cowboys one seem like patty cake, like kindergarten, because I think there is some real heat there between Brady, Belichick, and Kraft. We talked about that a little bit last week. Yeah, I mean, Jimmy and Jerry didn't like each other. I think it's deeper with these Patriots guys from what I've sensed and what I've heard. Kirk in Toronto writes in, and again, I'm not an Argos fan, so I'm not going to argue with what's the biggest date in your team's history. And by the way, it's 11/11 Mountain, 1:11 Eastern, if you observe. We stop and observe it every day. Kirk writes in and says, my favorite day was when the Argonauts moved back to the famed CNE grounds in 2016. That's cool. I'll allow it because you're a P1 viewer, a Priority 1 viewer, but that is not what I'm asking. I want to make it clear. We're not saying to people, what's your favorite day? What's the greatest day? That's not what was the biggest turning point day? I'll say it again for a third time because we got new viewers in and out all the time. Mine, I grew up an Oilers fan, okay? So August 9th, 1988, Gretzky traded. Boom. Saskatchewan Roughriders was my CFL team. Not anymore. The whole league is, but February 2nd, 2005. We hired Jim Hobson, and in the next 5 years went on to appear in 4 Grey Cup championships, winning 2. Regina Pats was winning the Memorial Cup in 1974. Changed the complexion of the franchise. You know, Jeff in the Zone writes in, and I thank you, by the way, for the question. Jeff in the Zone, I believe, is in Regina. He says, hey, Rod, should the Riders add the new kicker this week? It's a topic that I wanted to get into. I didn't know when. Now would be a good time because Zig's coming in the next segment for NFL Talk. You let me know, Corey, when we got a break. But Brett Lowther and I have been close friends, the kicker for the Rough Riders, for many years. He's been in the league at least 13 years. But he's really struggling on field goals. Now, if it's me, he's kicking Labor Day. And I put on Twitter on Saturday when he missed his latest field goal, he missed 3 the week before that this guy has earned the right to work himself out of this. And his agent actually responded and said, thank you and well said. Lot of Rider fans didn't agree. They've brought in a new kicker, a kicker that's never kicked in a CFL game. So, number one, it's not easy. Have you ever tried to kick a field goal? I have. It's not easy. Number two, Brett has proven over a 13-plus year career the ability to do it in big moments, so he can do it. This is all mental. It's not a mechanics issue. We don't necessarily know what's going on behind the scenes. Are the holds bad? Are the snaps bad? What exactly is going on here? It is a new holder, right? Because they've got a new punter. So there's something not right, and you have to trust the Rough Riders to have the ability to figure that out. And if you listen to the fans, you'll soon be listening to them. Sorry to say, but it's true. Let the guy figure it out. He's earned that right. So you're saying, should the guy be on the roster, the new guy on Sunday? Sure, put him on. But you're still sending Brett Lowther out to kick the first field goal in the Labor Day Classic. I think we've been there for those walk-off, or at least been watching for those walk-off Labor Day Classic winning field goals by Brett Lowther. What does pinball say? Why have they had the success they've had in Toronto? Because they don't give up on people. They value their people. That's why at this point of the season, the Saskatchewan Roughriders cannot get rid of Brett Lowther or replace him because he's been so good for so long and been a clutch kicker. So that's my take on that. Zig Fracassi next from SiriusXM NFL Radio. It's just going to be fantastic. Get your questions in, everybody. Western Dodge text line 902-518-3033 or the streaming chat. We'll be right back here on Game Plus and 1700 AM Mission Radio.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live. Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Just a quick one on the most poignant dates in franchise history of your favorite team. We've got a Blue Jays one. Troy in Toronto writes in, he says, December 5th, 1990, Pat Gillick acquired Alomar and Carter that sent Fred McGriff and Tony Fernandez to the Padres. This was the first piece in the puzzle for the Jays to win back-to-back World Series. I was waiting for it. I was waiting for the Jays' answer to that theme. Zig Fracassi with us from SiriusXM NFL Radio. How you doing, Ziggy?
What's going on, Rod? You're all fired up today, I can tell.
It's been a great start to the week, Zig. How about you?
Doing all right. Had a great show yesterday with Christian Fourier on NFL Radio. Had a good chat with former Colts standout Reggie Wayne, why they got into the Daniel Jones situation, named quarterback, him working with the young receivers, Bobby Hebert on the Saints quarterback situation, and former Titans GM Rand Carthon giving us the ins and outs in terms of what goes on this time of the year with roster moves around the NFL. So very, very good show. All fired up about it.
Well, we got a lot of things to be fired up today and to get to. You were just watching the several moments of this program. You were texting me some notes, which I didn't see until the break. Shiloh Sanders, New Jersey Devils. What else did you have that you would like to mention? Mention it here.
Oh, just, the Devils actually won 3 Stanley Cups. So you had that. Shiloh Sanders, from indications are he might still be interested, or the Bucks might still be interested in him. So it appears as though he could wind up on the practice squad.
What's going to happen with his brother, Shadur?
At this point, looks like 4 quarterbacks are going to be on that Browns roster. Andrew Berry was a guest, I guess, on their preseason broadcast that was on television against the Rams on Saturday, and he made it clear, Rod, that they don't mind carrying 4 quarterbacks. So it's going to be Flacco to start the season. They do like Pickett, even though he's been injured. Gabriel's shown some things. Shadur's been hot and cold, but they will likely keep, the 4 quarterbacks at this point.
All right. Well, you look at these preseason records, which obviously mean nothing. And I wonder for you, as a guy that's been on NFL radio for years and years, when do you consciously say, okay, preseason's behind us and flip and look ahead to the regular season? Or have you already?
I haven't, because I'm one of the firm believers, Rod, that because there's only the 3 preseason games and most teams hold out their starters, that to me anyway, and I might be wrong, that I believe the first month of the regular season is an extended preseason. You know, what's the saying? You can't win a division or a playoff spot, but you can lose one. So that's my approach. And I think really until, late September, early October, when guys are starting to get back into a rhythm, is when I feel anyway it really starts to count.
Well, look, before we get into preseason takeaways, I know, let's look. You say you're not a Cowboys fan anymore. I still am and will always be. Where are you on the boys?
For you.
You've
and
retired.
We got to discuss.
Yeah,
we got to discuss this Jarrett thing on Netflix too.
Let's do it right now. Now you've watched it.
Well, oh yeah, all 8 episodes, and to me, Rod, it quite frankly was a lot of it was stuff I already knew. About the White House, about how they parted ways and everything like that. I think there's finally a sense of, with Jerry, maybe I didn't appreciate Jimmy. Jimmy, maybe I didn't appreciate Jerry. So that's all well and good. And let's face it, Jimmy Johnson was the wheels behind that Cowboys success. That trade with the Minnesota Vikings in '89 with Herschel Walker, that was Jimmy Johnson. That was not Jerry Jones. And you saw the moves, the consequential moves that came after that, and the draft picks that they started to stock up, the Emmitt Smiths, the Russell Marylands, the Kevin Smiths, Darren Woodsons, all these guys that came out of that draft, Rod. That's Jimmy Johnson. Jerry Jones, we know, signs the paychecks, but that's the thing why 30 years after the fact, the Cowboys have not been in a championship game. And if you have a chance, go watch Dale Hansen, of course, the longtime sports director, WFAA in the Dallas-Fort Worth, and one-time Cowboys radio analyst who was on that documentary. He points out that basically he exposed Jerry Jones in an interview years ago about saying, what NFL team would hire you as a GM with your qualifications? If you get a chance, watch that on YouTube. It was done recently. Absolutely enlightening.
Yeah, well, you probably should not expose a narcissist. It doesn't go well. But what I'll say with this, where everything fell apart with the Cowboys is, and I knew this, as did you. I didn't need the documentary to tell me, but Jimmy and Jerry fought over who got the credit. And the point, that's ego. Who cares who gets the credit, guys? You're winning championships. You got rings. Who cares? That's what split it up. They were mad over who was getting the credit. Who cares? The winningest teams don't care about that stuff.
I agree with you to a point, and I think that was a big part of it. But I also think there were some cracks in the armor even before then. If you go back late to that 92 season when the Cowboys are playing the Bears, and Jimmy's all about the football, but here's Jerry welcoming in some, Arabian prince and some of his people on the sideline. I think that started to chafe at him where it became more of a show. And then, Rod, let's also be reminded when the Jacksonville Jaguars were granted an NFL franchise, it didn't stop Wayne Weaver from inquiring about Jimmy Johnson, and Jimmy didn't exactly deny that there was interest, and that's things where Jerry got into a little bit, and I think rightly so, like, hey, you know what? We built this thing, but you're going to be an ingrate because Jacksonville's showing you. So there was a ton of layers to all of this. I thought the Netflix documentary was very well done.
Oh, yeah. Our business manager, Joe, we're watching it together, and he goes, this is one of the greatest documentaries I've ever seen. And he's not a Cowboys fan. But I'll say this, Zig, just because you're on with me, I don't know when I would have the chance to tell you. There's an incorrection in this series where that night in Orlando when they were all having drinks, and Jerry says, I raised my drink and I said, let's toast winning the Super Bowl. Right. And everybody did except Jimmy because that was the moment, right? And he got fired that night. I know a guy who was at the table, the great Bobby Ackles, who was the president of the BC Lions. He was at the table. Bobby says that wasn't what he said. It's in Bobby's book. Jerry goes, let's toast everybody who helped me win the Super Bowl. Ooh. And that's not in the documentary. There's a slight difference there, okay? And that's what pissed Jimmy off. Oh, you winning the Super Bowl? I thought it was all of us. And then they never came back from it. So anyway, I'm all worked up. This is why you're not a Cowboys fan anymore. When did you hand in your Cowboys fan card?
The Detroit game last year, and I think the Lions might still be scoring. I was actually thinking about it after the game against the Giants because, quite frankly, and I love Will McClay. I think he'd be a great GM somewhere else. But it's clear to me and again, this is just my opinion. Jerry's now in his 80s. He's won. Okay, he may think he doesn't have to win anymore. He's more concerned about the show. He's more concerned about bringing in the MMAs, the UCF events down to, Jarrah World, Country Music Awards, all this stuff. It's all periphery. And if I care more than the owner and his family, that's a problem. So you see beyond all the smoke, the mirrors and everything like that. And if he really cared about winning too, why would he have brought, he had a chance. He probably could have brought in Bill Belichick if he had tried hard enough before he went to North Carolina. If you truly want to win, bring in arguably the greatest coach. So if I care more than the owner about winning, that's a major problem. And until the Jones family, they sell the team, hell, they can get $12 billion for it from everything that I see. Until they get ownership, Rod, that really cares, I'm afraid the Cowboys aren't going to win. So
you're right, Zig. As usual, you're not wrong. Now, Laverne in beautiful Swift Current, Saskatchewan writes in, every time I have an NFL guy on, Laverne wants me to ask them, your pick for the surprise team, and I won't give you the names, but the guys that we've asked, we've got New England, Carolina, Chargers, Raiders, Bears, Chargers, New England, Raiders, Commanders. Who's going to be the surprise team, Zig, this year for you?
We're Shirley. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, you had Laverne, so we're where's Shirley? Yeah, there you go. You and I are both old enough to remember that show, by the way.
That's right.
I would say of that list, I would agree with a couple of those. I think the Patriots will be better simply because they can't get any worse. I think Vrabel is going to try to bring some of that old New England culture back in terms of discipline, in terms of just a fundamental approach to the game, and I think that'll benefit Drake May. The Raiders seem to be kind of the in vogue team, and why not? You've got Pete Carroll, who I think, the guy's never aged. He's like 75 years old. He's still running around like a guy half his age. You can tell that he still has a fire for the game. He brings in Geno Smith, obviously a guy he's familiar with in Seattle. There's already some talent on that roster. So I could see maybe the Raiders making a run at the wild card spot, although it looks as though they're going to have to do something about their backup quarterback position because a kid that I really like, Aiden O'Connell, who started a few games for them, unfortunately, I think broke his hand. So it looks like he's going to be out up to 2 months, and even Pete said that they need to do something. So keep your eye on maybe the Raiders to make a little bit of noise this year.
I agree. Scott in Vancouver writes in, he says, Rod, you look like a Dolphins fan there. No. The Dolphins are trying to get me, and I live there, but I just can't. It's not like they're winning any more than the Cowboys, so what would be the point? Rich in Edmonton says, I've wanted to hand in my Raiders fan card for the last few years. Just can't do it. I know. And now, as we're going to air in Las Vegas every day on Silver State Sports and Entertainment
Congratulations on that.
Yeah, you got a big Vegas history, eh, Ziggy?
In fact, I was just there a couple of weeks ago. I had started my first professional job there. Not to give you, this is your life, Zig Fracassi, but I did work.
Go ahead.
I did work at a country music station, Rod, called KRAM, Classic Country 1340. Ooh. This was late 1985, early 1986, and from there. I did do some sports talk radio, sports entertainment radio, which became One-on-One, became Sporting News, Yahoo. It's had a ton of different incarnations, but I was just there a few weeks ago. We had a network called Sports Fan Radio. Chuck Powell, Rob Fisher, JT, the Brick, dear friend of mine, Charlie Barker was the program director, and we hadn't seen each other for about, some of us like 25 years or even longer. We were on from 93 to 2001. I thought one of the best radio networks that there was. So we got together for a long, nice weekend reunion, sharing some old war stories, if you will. Vegas was still a very big part of my life. And now I almost want to go back because they got the Raiders. They got the Golden Knights. They're going to have the A's. And who knows, they'll probably wind up getting an NBA expansion team. It's still a special city, even though it's changed a bit, maybe a little too expensive, but I love it. And I'm waiting for you to pick up my airfare when you go out there. So
yeah, well, you and I were together at the Vegas Super Bowl, and you and I have had the great pleasure of being together a few times. But as you talk about that, man, I can't imagine what Las Vegas has changed since '85. It's changed since I started going there just over the last 20 years. But, yeah. Hey, I got one for you that I don't know how much you've been talking about on NFL radio, but I'm hearing, while we talk about the power rankings, you also hear people talking about teams tanking for the number one overall pick. Is it going to be Arch Manning, Zig, or not, do you think?
Well, I mean, let's let the kid play a few games first at Texas. I think this is going to be a fabulous showdown against Ohio State in the season openers. So, in fact, we were talking about that yesterday with Bobby Hebert, legendary Saints quarterback who is involved in their broadcast WWL down in New Orleans. And in his usual charming ramble, he went on the fact that, the Saints right now, Rod, still haven't decided on their quarterback, either the kid Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler, who was drafted by the previous administration. And he went on to talk about, Bobby did, about the fact that, that's what some of the Saints fans are even clamoring for already, is Arch Manning, who, of course, is the grandson of Archie Manning, who's, Ole Miss. And then, of course, with the Saints, even with some bad teams, Archie Manning was very good. And we all know Peyton and Eli are his sons. So they're already starting to clamor for that. But my gosh, can we let the kid, we know it's the pedigree, Rod, but can we let him play a few games? And if anything, I'll tell you a kid who I think's more ready right now to play in the pros, Garrett Nussmeier out of LSU. By the way, in the Bayou, of course, his dad, Doug, is a longtime NFL coach and coordinator. If you watch him play close enough, the resemblance to Kurt Warner is uncanny. I think Garrett Nussmeier is going to be the better pro prospect, at least at this point, than Arch Manning.
And his dad, CFL quarterback as well with the BC Lions, Doug Nussmeier. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point.
That's right.
That's why I ask you, Zig, because you're so smart. That's a really good point. Now, Arch Manning is the odds-on betting favorite to win the Heisman, but as you say, it has not even kicked off yet. So, how are your Bruins going to be this year, Ziggy?
Oh, wow. That was quite the end of last year, but it was grossly overdue, Rod, to be honest with you. They needed some kind of a energetic reboot and all this kind of thing. People are going to say, they didn't get enough for Marchand. Listen, they did the guy a solid. He got his Blizzards down at Dairy Queen down in Florida, and they helped win the Stanley Cup. So they did get a first-round pick out of that. I thought they did very well in the Carlo trade with the Minton kid and another first-round pick. Give Don Sweeney credit for, tearing this down a bit. Apparently, they had, from the experts say, is a very, very good draft for the first time that I can remember, Rod. They're actually drafting on premium skill, speed, and talent as opposed to the character issue. I think Jamie Langenbrunner, two-time Stanley Cup champ, who's obviously the assistant GM there in Boston, I think he had a lot to do with this. I think the outlook is going to be better than expected. You get McAvoy and Lindholm back on defense. I think a healthy Elias Lindholm, who I thought played pretty well the last third of the season, I think that portends well. Swayman, obviously coming off the gold medal performance in the World Championships. I'm not going to say they're going to be contending again, Rod, but with some of the youth mixed in, I think they can contend for at least a playoff spot. They're hoping maybe what they are doing is what Washington did, was kind of a fast remodel. I don't know if they're going to get those kind of results that the Caps got last year, but it won't be long, I think, before the Bruins are back in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
You love talking NHL, don't you? Especially Bruins.
Absolutely. Hey.
Yeah. That's why I asked. But I had to Google who their coach is, just so you know. It's Marco Sturm. You probably know that. But if you put a gun to my head, I wouldn't have remembered. And before that, Joe Sacco. And I'm looking at this. And then their last three coaches, all Jack Adams Award winners. Claude Julien, Bruce Cassidy, Jim Montgomery. And then a quick drop-off. So when you say that he's torn it down, I would suggest he was tearing it down before he tore it down.
By the way, Marco Sturm, if you know your history, part of the Joe Thornton trade with San Jose.
Sure. I'm just saying they got a lot to prove. Zig, this has been amazing, my friend. Thanks for the time and keep up the great work.
Love you, man. Good stuff.
Love you too. Thanks, Ziggy. Zig Fracassi, SiriusXM NFL Radio. Oh, I'm so honored to call him a friend. We'll be right back here on Game Plus TV.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with the Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is, you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Hiring a video company shouldn't be complicated. Click, pay, done. Skycron.com/Regina.
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you're having a fantastic Monday. I know I certainly am. Here on episode number 1562 of the RP Show. Yes, it's Canada's daytime sports talk show, but that may change. We got to find we got to tweak the wording on that. Because, yes, we're going to the Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network, part of Fox 5 Las Vegas, beginning September 29th. And, yeah, we'll see how it goes. You know, Ziggy was on the radio there 40 years. How about that? 40 years ago on a country station. Man, Country Hits 1340. That sounds like a station that I would listen to. But things are changing a little bit. And I'm appreciative that you're along for the ride. Corey was telling me it was similar to the Game Plus guys way back 6 years ago. Moose was in charge of things then. And he had this deal lined up with Game Plus TV. And I didn't even know they were watching the show for 2 to 3 weeks, December of 2019. And I didn't even know they were watching. And they're like, yeah, we'll put this joker on. 6 years later, we're still rocking it in the free world on Game Plus TV. Thank you, Game Plus. And now in Vegas, same thing. I guess they've been watching it. And for what, I don't know why anybody would watch me. But they did. And they're going to allow us on their fantastic channel as well, beginning September the 29th. So I'm excited about that. I don't know where the comment went. Jason in Red Deer wrote in and he says, I can't wait. He said, can't wait to walk this strip. What do you say? And have a drink and watch the RP show? Whatever it is. There's quite a few in here. Oh, man. We were talking about the Cowboys documentary there, and Jeff, the Stamps fan, writes in. He says, I didn't realize there was so much nepotism with the Cowboys. It's basically his kids at the top. See, that's the thing. I'm sitting there watching the documentary with our business manager, Joe, and he's saying all the same things because he's not a Cowboys fan. He's a Washington fan. I didn't realize this went on. I didn't realize it. Yes. And it's never going to end. And as Zig just said, well, maybe if they sell the team for $12 billion, but they're not going to sell the team. So it's never going to end. And that's why Zig's like, I don't blame him. He's like, I'm not a fan anymore. I tried to do that. I just can't. So we'll see how it goes. Wayne in BC says it's because of how controversial you are, Rod. LOL. I'm not that controversial, just so you know. God willing, there has never, in 1,562 episodes, have we ever had somebody beating on the door of the TV station or whatever complaining about something that I'd said. I don't offend people. I don't swear. I don't go off script. So I don't get this. He's controversial. Entertaining, sure. Controversial, I don't see that. 2 minutes, producer Corey says. Let me do a sports update here. The Washington Commanders and wide receiver Terry McLaurin reached agreement today on a 3-year contract extension worth up to $96 million. He'll be in uniform week 1 against New York Giants. American League East leading Toronto Blue Jays are home tonight to kick off a 3-game series with the Twins. Jays coming off a split of a road trip last week in Pittsburgh and Miami. The Boston Red Sox open a second straight 4-game road series when they take on the Orioles tonight in Baltimore. Boston took 3 of 4 from the arch rival Yankees last week to move into second place in the American League East. From the NHL, defenseman Tyson Barrie's retiring from the NHL after 14 seasons. The 34-year-old has 508 points in 822 regular season games with Colorado, Toronto, Edmonton, Nashville, and Calgary. He added 21 points in 47 playoff games. These sports updates brought to you by Seat Giant. Stop paying U.S. dollars for games and concerts. Canadian-owned and operated with Canadians in mind. Super Bowl, college football, Taylor Swift, Justin Timberlake. They've got it all. Use promo code RPShow for 15% off now. Check them out at seatgiant.ca. When we come back, it's whatever you would like to talk about. Viewer takeover. That is not changing in overtime for Overtime Hockey Lane. So if you want to talk about the CFL then, we will. I know we're at the most exciting part of the season. I will tell you, and if I forget, please remind me, why I'm so happy for Dave Dickinson and the Calgary Stampeders. I'll tell you why I'm specifically happy for Dave. And they are the best team in the CFL. You can't argue that. So we have a lot of things to get to when we come back here live on Game Plus Television, streaming live in 1700 Mission Radio.
This is a test pattern. This is what happens when your video company screws up. You don't want your clients to see a screw-up. Hire a company that only does video, so it won't screw up. Then, people who give you money will see less of these and more of you. Skycron.com/live.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Sports fans, daytime sports talk gets a whole lot better weekdays at noon Eastern with The Rod Pedersen Show. Talking sports daily with A-list guests, and the best part is you can always join the discussion as we're the most interactive talk show on television. Broadcasting from coast to coast from the biggest events like Super Bowl, Stanley Cup Final, Grey Cup, and more. There's nothing like it in the game today. The Rod Pedersen Show, daily at noon Eastern and 10 p.m. Pacific on Game Plus Network.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Famoso, Italian pizzeria and bar. Taste, savor, share. Famoso, the spirit of Italian. Come in, enjoy.
Do you worry about how much someone drinks?
Do you feel angry or depressed most of the time? Do you feel neglected or unloved?
Do you feel that if the drinker loved you, she or he would stop drinking?
If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are not alone.
Not everyone trapped by alcohol is an alcoholic.
Families and friends are suffering too.
Al-Anon and
Alateen can help. Call 1-866-200-0223 or visit alanon.org/help.
Looking for a new ride without the big city pressure? Come to Western Dodge in Moose Jaw, where you'll find an unbeatable lineup of Ram trucks, Jeep SUVs, Dodge Muscle, and Chrysler family rides. With knowledgeable staff, great prices, and that friendly Moose Jaw touch, you'll drive away with confidence. Western Dodge. Big selection, small town service. Visit us today or browse online at westerndodge.ca. Welcome back for Overtime, everybody, here on what's been a very successful program today. We're very excited about being excited. Business is good. We're in the business of being in business. Overtime is brought to you by Overtime Hockey Lanes in Calgary. Randy and Michelle, family-run business where they have a limited time offer going on right now. BOGO, buy one, get one on their memberships. $99 for a month or $999 for the year. It's no fun shooting on your own. Go buy a 2-for-1 membership, and you got all the lane time to your heart's content. 28th Street, Northeast Calgary. Tell them the RP Show sent you. I love this idea that popped into my head while watching the Cowboys documentary. What was the most poignant day of your favorite franchise's history? We got a lot of viewers in BC, as you know. Ron Rothwell writes in from Coquitlam, BC. He says, the Canucks franchise-defining day, White Towel Day, Roger Nielsen, Game 2, Campbell Conference Final. Signed, Ron in Coquitlam, BC. Thank you for checking in, Ron. And now, I remember it. You got to help me. 1981, 1982. I was 8 or 9 at the time. But I remember I was watching the games with my brothers and my mom and dad. And Roger Nielsen with the white towel. Oh, yeah, waving it. And did he not put it on his stick? We're done. Surrendering. Great. That, to me, seems more poignant than Pavel Bure's first game. And thank you, Ron, for waiting so long, waiting for your comment to be read. Vintage Sasko writes in on the Western Dodge text line, which, by the way, from trucks to SUVs, Western Dodge has what you're looking for. Visit them in Moose Jaw or online at westerndodge.ca. Vintage says, hi, Father Rod. I wasn't around, but for the riders, most pointed moment got to be when a young Ron Lancaster and shortly thereafter George Reed arrived in Saskatchewan. Really got rider pride rolling to where it is today. Woo! It was the 60s. It was the 60s. George signed as a free agent, leaving the NFL. Ronnie acquired via trade from the Ottawa Rough Riders. I wasn't alive yet, but as a historian, not the historian, but a historian of Saskatchewan Rough Riders history, I remember it well. But if we judge this on winning, can we please not forget, we judge this on winning. It was the day Jim Hobson was hired, February 2nd, 2005. Daniel writes in from Vancouver, and he says, I was 15 years old. What a run. Roger Nielsen, the white towel. Thank you. Hey, thank you, Glenn in Medicine Hat, checking in on the Tyson Berry retirement. He says Tyson Berry scored the game-winning goal for the Kelowna Rockets in the 2009 WHL Final. An overtime tally in Game 6 to win the Ed Chanel Cup, assisted by Jamie Benn and Michael Backlund. I tell you, I get a kick out of watching these WHL Final games now, just even this most recently this year's, where Medicine Hat won it in Spokane, right? And the announcer is, and now to award the Ed Chenoweth Trophy. Can we get this right, boys? How far we done fell. Thanks for reminding me about the Dave Dickinson comment, which nobody has, but I said I'm happy that Dave Dickinson is in charge of the number one team in the CFL. And I know that's going to ruffle feathers, but it's a fact. They've beaten Saskatchewan twice. Right now, Calgary's the best team in the CFL. We'll see what happens in 3 months' time. But with Dave, he had the worst team in the CFL last year, got rid of the quarterbacks, got in a new guy, fired 3 coaches. Not easy moves to make. Dave's a good guy. I don't think he's as nice as Craig. Craig's nice. Dave Dickinson is an assassin. That's why he's in the Hall of Fame as a 2-time Grey Cup winning quarterback as a starter. But he came down to the Grey Eagle one time. We were doing the show there at the Grey Eagle Casino in Calgary, and he's like, Rod, I just wanted to tell you about that time that you asked me to do the preseason interview, and I didn't do it before the game. I knew you was upset about it. And I was like, yeah. Why didn't you do that interview, Dave? I've been mad at you ever since. He said, well, I know you have, but I told my players that you got to stick to your routine. Even though it's preseason, you got to stick to your routine. And my routine is not doing interviews on the field before the game. So when you asked, I couldn't do that interview with you. The players are watching me. And I'm thinking, well, you could have told me then instead of me being pissed off for 10 years. But at least he told me. You know what I mean? And that's why it tells me Dave Dickinson is a good guy. It was 3 hours before our preseason game, June of 2015, and I asked Dave for an interview at Taylor Field, and he said no. Really? And then years later, almost a decade later, he told me why. It's good enough for me. Brent in Wellington, Florida says, don't forget the cheesies. Thanks for the reminder, Brent. I'm actually considering calling you this afternoon if you're free. Ken in Mississauga writes in, he says, is Brett Lather on his own, or would the Riders have a sports psychologist / mental health professional to help him? Well, number one, they don't have one on staff because, believe me, I got a lot of friends that are mental strength coaches in sports that have asked me to get him in with the Rough Riders, and the Riders rebuffed it many times. Number two, in my time in the CFL, you all will probably remember Don Sweet was the guy. If a kicker had the yips, they brought in Don Sweet. He'd work with the guy for a week and problem solved. But that was a long time ago. I don't know how they're working with Brett Lather, but they won't be leaving him on his own. They will have brought in some specialist, maybe a sports psychologist. I don't know. Clearly, he's not getting out of it on his own. And, our special teams coach for years was Alex Smith, but he never kicked. So, they brought in Don Sweet or whomever they needed. So I'll guarantee you, it would be nice if somebody reported on what they're doing, but you know what? It's not 1995 anymore, and we don't get the interesting facts like we used to. And if I were to dig into it, somebody'd be pissed off at me. So here's hoping that he figures it out come Sunday. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Thanks to Zig. Thanks to Les. Thanks to you. Have a good one.
Now I'm the whore and the pimp. That's where the money is.
How about that?